Pack, so thumbs up. So we thank you all here for your presence this evening. So we are about to begin our mentorship section. And before that, I would like to call forward our facilitators. So our first facilitator is the person of Louis Jima. He's a corporate risk and business management consultant. Mr. Jima will be presenting on CV writing, so let's clap for him as he sits. Our second facilitator is Mr. Sylvester Kwame Osei, and communication consultant with interest in the use of communications for development. And he will take us through email etiquette. Let's clap for him as he sits. So our third facilitator is the person, Mr. George Asare Afriye, and he's a senior legal officer at the Ghana Maritime Authority and a lecturer at the Gempa Law School. He's on. Okay, I heard he's on his way. So our fourth facilitator is Prof. Kwaku. Please let's clap for him as he's coming. He's the current Wadi president and associate professor of chemistry at the Department of Chemistry, University of Ghana. So our fifth facilitator is Dr. John Ganley, and he's a senior lecturer at the School of Public Health, University of Ghana, and he's excited to share with us on career choices after graduation. Let's clap for him as he resumes his seats. And our sixth facilitator is Mr. Derek T. Owusu Ntim Jakari. He's a qualified accountant and a member of Chartered Global Investment Analyst with vast experience in fund management. Let's clap for him. So he'll be taking us through setting up our own business. Okay, house, this is our facilitators, and I'll call on Mr. Luke to take us through the opening prayer.
Okay, we are praying. Begin our prayer in the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, creator of all things, we thank you for this gathering. We thank you for the gift of our lives, and we thank you for all the good things you have done to us from the start of this day till this hour. O Lord, we pray committing this meeting into your hands. We pray that you will bless us, bless our facilitators, that the meeting will go on well. We also pray committing all those that are on their way coming, that you will bring them safely. O Lord, you say in your word that wherever 2 or 3 are gathered, you are there with them. Come into our midst, O Lord, we pray, and bless this meeting to the glory of your name. For this we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Oh, please let's clap for him. So we now call on our own PAC's president, Mr. Desmond, to give us the welcome address.
So, thumbs up. Good evening, everyone. Okay, so I'd like to welcome you all to tonight's program, the mentorship session with KSGI. Yeah, so as part of the activities for this semester, we plan on having this session so as to give us in-depth knowledge about the topics which we are going to be educated on, okay, and also to prepare us for the future outside campus, okay, and most importantly, to bridge the gap between parishioners and then students, because we have a lot of resource persons in the church, and then we have to benefit from them. Okay, so I would like to welcome you all once again, and I hope you brought your notepads and pens. Let's take down something, let's learn something, let's be informed, let's be educated. Okay, so I welcome you all once again, and I also like to welcome all members from the Noble Order of the Knights and St. John's International who have come to facilitate our program. Thank you all so much.
We also thank you, Papa Pax. So without wasting much time, our first input is CV writing. So with another round of applause, let us invite Mr. Louis Jima to lead us through the CV writing. So I hope you all brought our notebooks and pens to take notes. So let's pen down all our questions too. So after that, we wouldn't forget what we want to ask. So thank you.
So permit me to take off these marks. Good evening to you all. For CV writing, I'll start by saying CV writing is a very easy skill. But you always have to consider the CV writing process as your representative speaker, as you are not there when your employer is looking at your document. CV writing is like first impressions, okay? What do I see when I look at you? What do I see when I look at your CV? So in most cases than not, you are not there when your CV is being reviewed. True? You don't know the condition of the person reviewing your CV. If the person is happy that morning, or the person has had a very terrible night, and the next thing they are going to look at is your CV. So if you were to be in that manager's shoes, how will you perceive your own CV? Those are some of the things you need to consider when you are putting together your resume. Next slide. In Ghana, the bigger your CV, or the more illustrious your CV, people think that is what's best. I've seen CVs that are 10 pages. Non-fankwa. Unnecessary things. Like the CV, if you look at the screen, the CV that's marked X. I've seen CVs that people describe their favorite music and why they like it. Because they think the more pages they have, the more it looks like they have the staff for the job. It is not so. In today's Ghana, when we pick your CV at a glance, we should be able to understand who you are, where you are from, and what you're about to do. Just at a glance. That's why you find a lot of CV writing formats out there. The ones that you write so much about yourself, 4 pages, 5 pages, those times are gone. And bear in mind, I have 5 minutes to look at your CV, maximum. So if you are going to waste the first page to tell me about your ambitions when you started GSS, to SS, to university, and all that, by the time I'm done reading all that, I'm on to the next one. So you have to make sure that in a glance, I should be interested to read more. And those are some of the areas we are going to look at today. Okay, next slide. Everybody can write a CV. It's very, very easy, but it's very, very hard to do. It has been said that 40% of hiring managers spend less than, even this says a minute on your resume. Okay? It has to be strong, and it has to be eye-catching. Immediately I look at it, and please do not hesitate to look at different formats online. Right now, there are so many templates that you can jazz it up with, but you have to make sure that your entire CV fits on one page. Next slide. Your CV can start, obviously, with everything that you've achieved. For students, I'll say, yes, your academic, your master's or your undergrad, but it speaks to you now that there's a sense of awakening that you have to ignite in yourself. What are you doing with your time here? How many courses or free courses are you putting on your CV? When you hear that there's a program somewhere, there's a one-day seminar that will come with some level of certification, some level of recognition that can go on your CV, how are you running to those things? Because right now, if you look at your CV, it's just your degree. And maybe some part-time holiday work, right? There's nothing else. So what sets you apart from the everyday person who's been able to go to maybe one or two other programs than you have? That's why nowadays, in almost every program, people are releasing certificates. The easiest low-hanging fruit is the Microsoft suite of what? Presentations. There are so many out there now. Excel training. Then you see that someone has specialized in it. They are organizing a one-day course or a one-week course. All these things factor into the quality of your CV. Trust me, there have been times that we've seen first-class students coming out of the University of Ghana who can't do a simple presentation. Slides. It's not because they don't have the information to put in there, but the structure and manner in which you have to place it in there, they do not know. So my brothers and sisters, this is the time for you to harness all those opportunities. These courses will not cost you much, but they will enrich your CV. To even put together the basic memo is very difficult for a lot of people. And I'm sure when we get to the basics of email writing, some of you realize that there's a lot that you are doing wrong. Okay? Someone can bulk up the whole email message, and the actual content that has to be delivered is just one line at the bottom. But you've lost your reader halfway through. It is the same with writing your resume. Your resume has to speak volumes for you when you are not present. Next slide. If you can see your screens, I think it's too far away, but I'll just read it out for you. There are 5 steps to writing a good CV. You need to be prepared. CV writing is not just, I want to write my CV, Brother Lawrence, give me your CV, let me dab your style, which a lot of you do. Let me dab your style, and then, or let me copy your style, and then I'll fit in mine. But you are lacking a lot of things. Bear in mind, this is going to be the transcript for your interview. Okay? I have been in an interview session where I asked somebody about something in their CV and they were lost. Clearly, that is not their CV. They copied. They copied and pasted and changed values. You have to be prepared. Secondly, for CV writing, you have to dedicate time. It is your life that you are putting down on paper. You have to dedicate time. I will always suggest in step 3 that you find a very quiet place. Sit with yourself and decide the things you want to put on your CV. Okay? The next step from there is when you are writing the CV, don't stop. Your first script of your CV is not a time for flair or styles of writing. No. Put down all your information, as little or big or mediocre or large as may be. Write it all down on a rough piece of paper. Write it down. Don't correct English, don't correct style. Write it all down. Then step back. Then think to yourself, what are the key components of my CV? Work experience, school, soft skills, hard skills, which we'll get into. Then when you come back, let's say after an hour, look at what you've written with a new or let's say fresh eyes and say, what attracts me about what I've done? In most cases than not, it's your academic qualification. That's why I come back to the issue of grabbing on soft courses in the university as you are here. Because when you come to the corporate world, people will pay, you will pay an arm and a leg just to get Microsoft suite. I believe the last time I saw one, it was $1,500 for professionals. When I went into the course, I was a facilitator, I realized that the same things that we missed here in the university are the same things they are teaching them there. Someone couldn't do Alt plus H plus O. If I ask you right now, you do not know what that is. But in Excel, it's a very simple format. It is the time, this is the time. You have so much time for you to enrich your CV. Okay? So in writing your CV, a key component is enriching it now as you are in the university. Next slide. In every CV, obviously, these are the key things to look out for. Your contact information. Clearly spelled out. I've seen cases where people are using their mother's phone number, their dad's phone number, and it is the alternative number on their CV. And you call and the person says, oh, that is my daughter, that is my son. He will call you back later. You've missed an opportunity. Today, contact numbers are not difficult to get. Have your own email, have your own contact number. And not emails that you have so much junk dropping in there. Bear in mind, when you subscribe to all these social media platforms, they send notifications, right? Sometimes, if you don't take care, the mailbox will even see the relevant ones and send them to spam. And you miss out on an opportunity. So let it be an email that you know that this is my responsible email. This is the email I don't joke with. When I see a notification from this email, it means someone is trying to reach me about something else. Then you have to have a summary of your objectives, which we'll get to. It is not supposed to be 10 lines and a paragraph like I see. It's supposed to be very, very short. And then your skills, your work history, if any, your education, so you list your credentials, and then certificates and training. Certificates and training, it goes a long way. Next slide. So I really wish you could see clearer, but if you can, these are the most, approved methods of writing the CV. Okay, like the templates, the ones that I see the most. And if you can see, I think you can see from the screens above you. Can you see from this side? You can't see at all. Oh. Okay, we can share them later. But in the one in the blue, okay, you can realize that there's 4 columns. There's 4 columns provided. In the deeper blue column, this person has provided their name, their contact, their email address, and then their postal address. Then in the lighter blue to the upper right, that is their professional summary of themselves. Then in the lower blue, okay, the deeper one to your left, is skills and education. And in the lighter side, that is their work experience. In a glance, I can define this person. Whether this person is good for my job. And sometimes it's weird, but sometimes just by doing this, you become employable. They go like, listen, you've gone the extra mile. You're not doing the everyday stuff. You have a certain flair, and it might just pick you for this. The one to the right is also similar. It's just a different format. But at a glance, I know everything about this individual. We don't have time to flip to page 2. Very common trick is everyone has references at the back. It's not necessary. In referencing, you can say upon request. Because all the big men and women you know don't like putting their information out there. And we realized over time that when we put their reference in there, it gives people free opportunity to have their contacts. Because you never know where your CV went. In most cases, the roasted plantain seller. And someone will see it and say, oh, this is Mr. Sylvester's details. I'll call him. So there are different formats. For you, you are blessed because there are so many on the web. So many. You just have to, it's like a plug-in, touch and play. You just put in your information and it does that for you. Next slide. The things I do not expect you to do in some of these things is lie in your CV. For some odd reason, a lot of you think that when you fabricate, when you extend the truth in your CV, it will help you gain some admission. It will rather expose you very, very badly. I've been in several interviews where people are asked and tasked to show that they can do this and they can do that, and trust me, it's a very embarrassing situation. And if you don't take care, you may have crippled yourself for the next 3 interviews because you never know the panel, which members you see in the next interview. And now people are sourcing panels for employment. So if you don't take care, you might meet the same person that you have destroyed that image with. So be very, very careful not to lie. I'll say it blunt, don't lie. But most importantly, if you have a title, those of you that are doing accounting, law, medicine, engineer, and all that, it's very, very good to state your title. There's this myth in Ghana that don't enter with your full qualification. When you enter, then you show them that, Charlie, I have this one. You are shooting yourself in the foot. Because at that level, you are on an equal playing field with all the applicants. Maybe it's that certification that will lift you to employment. If you have a LinkedIn account, it's very, very important in today's economy. LinkedIn is not a place for joke. LinkedIn is a place where professional discourse and ideas are shared. I'll urge you today, if you don't have a LinkedIn account, go and get your own LinkedIn account. Have a professional portrait put there. Talk about things that matter. Read and put in some discussions there. And even on LinkedIn, people poach. People find other people there. So if you see today's CV, right, a lot of people have their LinkedIn link right there, showing that, listen, I'm a professional and I'm already in an international, and LinkedIn is like the international business market. So there's nothing that will escape you there. And sometimes you may be in a cluster of people where they are talking things that you don't understand, but keep on reading. One day, and it doesn't stop you from saying, okay, I share this view, and someone will respond to you. There's nothing wrong with that. And maybe someone will say that you are wrong. Listen, you've created history. You are having communication with somebody, okay? So LinkedIn is a very, very good profile. Those of you who put Facebook and Instagram, please stop it. Because we end up seeing the things you like and post, and there is unnecessary filter, okay? Use a professional link like LinkedIn. And now there are a lot of websites, blogs, vlogs that people do that can really lift up and enrich your CV. Next slide. Things not to do on your CV. Date of birth, we don't want to know. That is the first lie people start. They know that they were born in 1990. But because the job is saying 10 years and above experience, a young lady or a young guy will go and write 1985. And they walk in looking very, very much like 21 years. Clearly, you know that you don't belong. Unprofessional emails. The most funny one I've seen is, I am 007 at so-so-and-so.com. That was his email, I am 007. The rest, if I mention here, you guys will be surprised. But at that point in time, you realize that the emails that you create says a lot about you. In most cases, use your surname and maybe your initials and form a Google at gmail.com or something very, very professional. And a new phenomenon I'm seeing now is people are adding their headshots. We don't want to see what you look like. Let your CV speak for itself. People actually put a very interesting profile picture of themselves on their CV now. I don't know where they got this thing from, but we don't want to see it. Unless you are doing an entertainment bit, you are going for employment for something that requires you to have your headshot as part of your CV, please do not waste your time. Next slide. So what you see here, if you can glance at it, it's like the components of a resume summary, which is usually your professional statements, okay? You keep it very, very brief. You keep it very, very brief, and you make sure that it's enriched with a lot of content, okay? It should be 3 lines maximum, 3 lines. Let it speak to who you are and your most relevant experience, your key skills from your job descriptions or experience, and any additional skill. Okay, are you with me? Those are the 3 lines we want to see. Any other things about your dream, and please don't. Next slide. So whenever you are capturing your work experience, and this can be your summer jobs, or even sometimes jobs that you have on campus, your title there, the name of the organization or institution, the location, the dates with which you worked, and then 3 to 5 bullet points on your top achievements there or duties. I prefer 3. It saves, you see, it makes you pick the best and you put it there. Sometimes when you say 5, the last 2 are usually non-far. Okay? So let's be very, very straight to the point when we are describing what we do. If you tell me on a date, what do you call it? The most common one I hear is office work on a day-to-day. What is office work on a day-to-day? Be very, very precise in what you do. Next slide. So in most cases, and I try not to be hard on you when you don't have the hard skills, because that is purely education and practice. But then again, your soft skills, things that you do well, okay, you have to be able to put some label on them. So these can be things such as you are well organized. What says you are well organized? Even by your CV, we can tell if you are well organized or not. Then you tell me you're a team player. You've not said much. Okay? Give me some descriptives. You're a part of so and so team. You achieved this. Okay? You did this, you did that. And then those are direct references that we can make. Next slide. This part is where a lot of students, next slide, not the templates, please. You have to go to, no, please go back. Yes. Hey, operator, yes, right there. In most cases, a lot of people are afraid of writing their GPA unless they are, I think, University of Ghana, it has to be above which, when the upper is above which 2 point what? 3.0. GPA, so 3.6. Those ones, they write it. Those who get the 2 points, honor, they don't write anything. Then when they bring their certificates, they are explaining why they got their mark. Please, you can boldly state it. Listen, it saves you the trouble. It saves them the trouble. Sometimes you don't want to show on your CV because people will think less of it. That's not the case. People can get 3 point somethings, come to an interview and have the worst of time. But you can come and your charisma and your flair and your confidence, because you know that there's nothing that they don't know about you, can really help you excel. Do you get me? So don't be afraid to put in your GPA where it is required. If you look at the criteria for employment, and it requires that you put in your score, feel free and do so. This is a caution to all of you. Your CV is not universal. In every employment opportunity, your CV has to change. The style and the content, you have to adjust it. The CV that you apply to a bank is not the same CV you obviously apply to in a marketing agency. Am I right? You have to bring, when you look at the employment that you are going out for, you have to look at your skills in every employment, in every education, in every structure that speaks to that particular employment that you are looking out for. Most of you write one CV and says, AQUINAS, won't write again. This is the formula. We'll send it everywhere. And you lose opportunities because of that. You look at the CV, someone is looking for, let's say, an insurance broker. You have done some insurance sales in the past, but because in your original structure, you do not have it, you do not state it, and then you send it off. You've lost out on an opportunity. So make sure that in every opportunity that you send your CV, I always do this. I have my CV and I have the work template where I have some places in red, some places in blue, and some places in green. Those in green, they are standard, usually my education. Those in blue, it means that I have to check the time in which I am sending that CV. And those in red have to fit that particular, what do you call it, employment. The reason why time is of a factor is that in the working environment, if you've done something for the past 10 years, you did it in 2010, we don't regard it. We don't want to see it. Cut it out. And some of you hang on to some of these things because you think it will make your CV fat. You may have forgotten about it a long time ago, so you move on. Next slide. For me, this is the format I really want a lot of you to adapt. And when you get these slides, look at this particular format. It all fits on one A4 sheet, and it's straight to the point, okay? And as you go on, you can improve upon it. So, in a nutshell, that is a short glimpse into resume writing. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll take them.
Please, we take all the questions after all the panelists are done talking. Please, let's clap for him. So our next input is career choices. Before that, a number will be displayed on the screen. So you send our questions through that number as a WhatsApp message. So
Are you putting now? Okay. It's not going to be up. It's going to be up. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. Okay. You want to say something?
okay, career choices. So
Otherwise, I'll just proceed. So, good evening again. So, I'm a teacher, so I'm going to be a little bit different from maybe what you've seen before. I'm a teacher, so my approach is slightly different. I'm going to be walking among you and talking, because that's what I do as a teacher. So, let me see how many of you are sure of what you're doing. How many of you are in final year? Final year. Do you have graduate students here? Any graduate students? Okay, great. So how many of us are sure of what we're going out to do? You absolutely sure that when I leave here, this is what I'm going to do? How many of us are sure? Okay, great. 3 people. Oh, 4. 5. Excellent. That's good. How many of us are not sure? Okay. So it's okay, right, to be so unsure about what's going to happen. That's perfectly okay, as I would explain in a few minutes. That's okay to be so unsure about what is going to happen. And for those of you who are not sure, how many of you would want to go collect garbage after school? Garbage. Bola. Nobody, isn't it? Yeah, so the first point about this career thing is that we are all usually very optimistically biased. In other words, we all want the good stuff, isn't it? Everybody. I want the good stuff, you want the good stuff. And that then requires some level of thinking, some level of engagement to be able to kind of figure out the good stuff, right? And so that's the first thing, that we are all kind of always biased in that regard. Nobody wants to finish school and go collect garbage, right? Okay. And like I said, it is totally okay at this stage not to be so sure of what you were going to do. And later on, I'll tell you a story about myself at some point. And because that kind of, insecurity sort of can inspire you a lot to start to do things differently, right? So it's okay. I don't know if you can, is that somebody controlling the slide? Oh, it hasn't been, sorry. I assume it was rolling. Can you get us rolling? Okay. Not this one. Okay. You just move on. We've moved on. Okay, still move on. Still go on? Yeah. So this doesn't probably look clear, but I'll try and explain. So this is kind of like to give you a quick summary of what you probably would be going out to. The world of work career choices pretty much changing, and it's not like maybe 10 years ago. A lot of things have changed, but there are few things that are still standing. So I'm happy some people already knew what they're going to be doing. Some of you are studying programs that are going to make you specialize, okay? So you would leave here with a specialist role. That's to the, I think, my left, right? Yes. Who do you think would be one of them? Sorry? Specialist?
A doctor, someone who studied medicine.
So that's one example. Any other? So I said some of you would leave as specialists. In other words, it's technically very difficult for you to transition away from what you have studied, right? Yeah? So you've done medicine, you end up becoming some sort of a specialist. Nursing, midwifery, that sort of thing. So that we're going to have people who are kind of like specialists in that regard. So there's a kind of career part that is carved out. But, of course, there's a lot of changes. So three of my doctor friends that came to UG here to do public health decided after that they're not going back to the consulting room because it was such a bored thing to do. So now they've abandoned it and they've completely changed course. Just to say that it is still possible for the specialists to work, to change course. But there are now a lot of us that are going to be knowledge architects, right? In other words, there's so much we've got that we can do with all the things we have done here when we leave that we can literally fit so many things. Who are these knowledge architects? Examples? Oh, give me examples. Otherwise, I'll start calling people. So one of the things I do is if you bring anything to any meeting, it will perform a function. For example, if you are wearing glasses, right? Or if you are wearing a jersey, a football jersey, you may be called on to say something. So who wants to? The knowledge architects. Sorry? So, no, I'm not asking you. I'm just asking everybody. So I'm saying there are people who are going to be specialists, and there are a lot of us that are going to be knowledge experts. We've got some training that has prepared us in very kind of like different ways that we can literally do so many things. So you've done a business administration, you've done psychology. There's a whole lot of knowledge you've got that needs to then be translated into something useful, isn't it? So in that sense, you've got the knowledge in there. You've done engineering. Any engineering student here? Okay? No? Oh, where are they? Now they are here, right? There's a whole lot you are living with that needs to be activated. So that already creates for you a sense of where you may go. And then there are also quite a lot of us who are going to be excellent what? Communicators. I mean, we are in a well of communication. It's probably like the biggest thing that's happening now. Okay? And so there are going to be a lot of us who are also very excellent communicators because of the way we have trained. Now, I'm laying these foundations because depending on where you sit along this line, it then becomes easier for you to think about where can I go, right? So this is just foundation to give you a sense of where you're going. Of course, I'm not saying that if you are a specialist, if you've done the medicine, nursing, that's where you must go. No. There's room for you to do so many other things. And of course, if you've done psychology, there is absolutely no reason why you can't go and do medicine. Right? There's no reason. It's possible. These days it's possible. There's no reason why you can't go and do medicine. If you can read and write, that's it. So don't think that that would be the end. Maybe you would appreciate that when we look at the other options. Okay? So bear in mind that it is possible to move along these broad lines. Next. Oh, it's changing. So then how do you decide? Even if you are the specialist, how do you decide what kind of career do I pursue? Let me find out what would determine your choice of career. What would determine your choice of career?
Choice of career. What would determine it? Okay, maybe the money.
Money. Excellent. I like this guy. Money. Kuri. You get it. L'argent. What else? Sika. There's a lot of people say mobilier. You know, that kind of thing. Money. That's important. Yeah.
Your passion for a particular job.
Sorry?
Passion.
Passion. Very good. Any other thing? So money, passion. Okay?
Your skills.
Skills. Excellent. You are all getting trained. And I think he was just talking about getting additional what? Skills. So these are very much linked together. Skills. You could be trained as you probably doing history, but you have some other skills. Graphic design. That's a career for you. You've done history, all right, but you have a graphic design what? Skill. That already puts you ahead. What else? I want to hear people personal, stuff. What else? Those of you at the back. What else? Who wants to? What would determine your career choice? Somebody said money. All right, that's okay. Okay, so I have one point here, and then we go on. Oh, actually, two.
Your personality. So, if you are someone who doesn't like talking, I'm not sure you'd be a teacher or something like that. So,
that's an important thing, right? If you have to teach, somehow you have to like talk, because you will be forced to talk.
Also, we have the desire to impact change. The desire to impact change in a particular sector.
So as we sit here and we're going through this, there are all of these things that are happening in our lives. And so it is not just the degree you are getting, okay? Think about the skills what additional skills do you have, okay? And of course, we've talked about personality, Some people are way too cautious. I'm sure there's going to be starting your business. If you are way too cautious and you can't take the risks, maybe starting your own business probably is not your thing. It's important that you understand this, okay, in deciding on where you want to go. Or even so I had a friend, actually, he was my supervisor when I was doing graduate studies. And she did medicine at Harvard, but decided that she didn't like the whole idea of blood all the time. So she decided to come into public health and international development. So after finishing medical school, going to do a bit of specialization, she was like, no, anytime I see the blood, I freak out, right? Okay. So knowing your personality is one thing you need to start to think about now. What it is about you that would help you out. Skills, we've talked about interest, okay? You see, the thing about interest is this. Sometimes you could get the best paying job, the best kind of career, right? but you just realize that, I'm just doing it for, to get. And anytime you have to do it, it's like mini punishment. That is not good for your health. Okay? I mean, I teach because I like to teach. I mean, like, I can literally teach for the whole day on a good day because I like it. So I don't feel like I'm being punished, right? I like to do research. I like talking to people. So I'm almost like always on the run. That's something that I'm so interested in. And so I don't see the struggle in that whole process, right? It's important that you try and figure that out. Of course, if the training you are having aligns so well with your interests, which happens sometimes, then all the better. If it doesn't, don't worry too much. So I tell you what, when I started my undergraduate studies, the thing I wanted to do was, work with NGOs and stuff like that. Because like my mentor was like one of the directors for World Vision, International, Charlie, all the big cars, traveling around. I so much wanted to do it. So what I did was like, I did a lot of internship with World Vision and did a lot of research with them. And then just a year or two into the whole thing, I was like, hell no. And it was a simple thing. I felt so much conflict within me. So I'll give you an example. The way they raise the money. So it's like you go to the community, you get the kids, and then it's like the kids are literally adopted by foreigners, and then they send monthly donation. That's how they raise the money. And I felt very conflicted about that whole thing. And I was like, that's not for me. And of course, it led me into so many other places that are like, no, the things that are happening here, I don't think this is what I want to do. So one of the things I would encourage you to do while you are here is get internship, volunteer to do things that would allow you to actually assess, where your skills are, where your passions are, and then you can decide. Is that okay? So look for opportunity. If it's just 2 weeks, free service, you distinguish yourself, and then they would call you. That's what we are all looking for. This is the guy we're looking for. Okay? So please do that. Of course, like somebody said, money is important. And that's why when I asked about garbage, of course, people didn't like the idea. So it's important in thinking about whether you want to go in there or not. And so to try and just wrap up, a lot of us are going to go out thinking, what should I do? Parents trying to shadow you and then try to show you places. It's okay if the first time you're just not sure. Like I said, it can generate a lot of creativity and allow you to actually think through. So don't be too worried that at this point you still don't know what you want to do or what you can do. I think it's just a time for you to do a self-assessment of the things we have said. Your interests, skills, passion, personality. It's a combination of all of this. Because if you go after just one aspect, you may succeed, but then you realize that actually this is not what I want to do, and you become an unhappy person. That's not good enough. And like I said, also start to look for fields that are growing. I'm sure the other speakers will talk about that. There are some things that will be dead in a few years' time to come, right? As you go through this, start to think about what are the emerging areas, okay? Maybe very soon we will not have the shops in the container thing that you see, right? So if your idea of a business is something like that, it may not work well because it looks like we've changed quite a lot. So start to think about, growing. And of course, networking, you see, that's also important. And that's why for me, coming to this place is probably the thing you won't get. When you finish school and you come here, we'll charge you. Right? I always tell students, we'll charge you. You don't have any right to come and ask me, how do you do this? You can't ask any of them, how do you do this? We'll charge you. But now, if you catch me anywhere and ask me, I am under obligation to respond. So please, as much as possible, attend, network, talk to people about your interests and what you can possibly do, okay? And of course, don't settle. Even when you are in a skilled specialist field, don't settle for just, the minimum. You can always do better, right? And don't be afraid of the change. Sometimes it's just like that. Like I said, I did a lot of my graduate training abroad, and I had lots of opportunity to be like, in our field. I'm sure by now I probably would have been like a full professor. But there were so many things that I was just not happy about. Staying out of the country and like personal struggle. I was like, this is not cut for me. So I'm coming back with all the uncertainty. But I think I'm happy today, at least, if nothing at all. I'm speaking to you, and that for me is great. So don't be afraid of change, because that's the only way you succeed. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So our next item is email etiquette. And we will invite Mr. Sylvester. Is you? This one? Okay, there's a bit of changes. So our next item is the role of upcoming graduates in our society. So you invite Mr. George Asare Afriye to lead us in it. Please, let's clap for him.
Good evening. Yes, also the thing doesn't make it. All right. I've been told that there's an online community, so I'm supposed to use this. I don't like using mic when I have to speak somewhere. All right, so I'm sure we are in the university. Some of us are over 100, 200, 300, 400, and some are graduate students, right? In 2004, I came here, and we're part of the first batch who came to this church. The church wasn't like this. Those who know, I'm happy to see my senior man here, in whom I always take inspiration from. When I came to University of Ghana from my village, I asked myself, can I one day get a work to do? In my opinion, I'm sure you all agree with me, and those of you who have graduated, that the system has failed us. The university has failed us. Our government has failed us. I'm sure some of you have attended graduations before. You hear all kinds of speeches. Even in secondary school speed days, the government is doing this, the government is doing that, and all those things. If you go elsewhere, on the day of their graduations, they take people, they pay them, they come and share their life experiences to encourage you, to let you know that you can also make it. Instead of coming to say you're going to construct this kind of unit, no, we have to move away from there. The question is, what should be our role as students? Most of us would want to wait after university, then they'll be struggling to do their national service. Some of your parents will be well connected. I remember when I was in the university, I told a friend, she used to say that every day, my daddy, my mommy, my daddy, my mommy. I told her that death doesn't give you the notice. So move away from my daddy, my mommy philosophy and be on your own. We finished school then in August of that year. She called me, George, haven't you missed me? In fact, I hadn't missed her, but I said I've missed you. It's unfortunate I'm talking in the chair. I'm usually, when I'm teaching, it's a classroom, so what you say is different from, but because God is here, you know how to go about things. I'm a lawyer and I'm a teacher, so I know how we say some of these things. So I told her that, forget about money and daddy thing. So she called me that, what happened to me? I said, I have missed you. It was 16th of August, 2008, I believe. So she said, oh, can you call me after work? I said, okay. When I called, they're not knowing that the father had died. So I attended the funeral. Then after the funeral, a month after, a friend called me, George, have you heard? I said, what is it? That friend's mother too is poor. This friend had two younger siblings who were attending Christian High International School, Dodowa. The children had to leave because if your parents are around, you know, life is very, you know what I'm talking about. But if they are no more, that's when the realities was sets in. So the lady had to go to Holy Child. The gentleman had to go to Fanspring because the school fees, those who were supposed to be the successors, it wasn't going to be possible in one way or the other to take care of them. So that's the first lesson. Your role, in my opinion, starts taking your destiny in your what? In your hands. We've been saying all these things. When we're here, you go to Central Cafeteria, they will give all these motivational speeches. But the fact is, it starts from here. I remember when I was here, I'll use my life as an experience, so that you get it than just a philosophical thing. When I came to university, I told myself I would be a mass server. In fact, I became a mass server when I was in primary 2. Even when I was pursuing my master's in US, I was serving every Sunday. And the day that I decided not to go to church, they would come to my house. Why didn't you come? I told myself that I had to build my networks, and one of my brothers spoke about networking. Money cannot buy everything. I'm sure, we've been saying some of this, but it's true. Social capital can buy everything. The question is, what's social capital? We are not doing sociology yet, so I'm not supposed to define what amount of social capital. When you go, you can check what amount of social capital. There are certain things you may do here, service. You may think you are wasting your time, but you will not waste your time. When we used to come and work here, we didn't have this pew or whatever here. We will come, nothing, just the structure was there. Nothing was here. We'll come on Saturdays. Window, nothing was here. We have to come and scrub. We have to come and do this. We have to come and do that. Some of us, we say we will still do. Parks activity, we're always there. In fact, it affected our boyfriend-girlfriend relationships. Because if we're in school, you want to dedicate, and the woman may want your attention. And this woman also wants your fame. You know how life is. You can't have it all. So through that, we were supposed to come up with something called a pinnacle. I don't know whether it is still there. The first magazine. I was the first committee chairperson for that. We were given nothing. And when the budget was given to us, I asked myself, together with now a Reverend Father, he was part of the committee. We asked ourselves, can we achieve it? Because, it was about 2,600, 2006. But through networking and through the hard work of the committee members, not just me, myself, we were able to raise 3,000 cedis. And the day for the launch, we did it here. Father Kessie was here. I invited 4 people. Those 4 people are still alive. Professor Raymond Tuguba, Professor Onike Rodriguez, Dr. George Badankwa. I've forgotten the 4th one. We got 8,000 cedis. Because I'll go and speak to one person. The person will say, oh, I'll link you to this person. So before I went, I made sure he or she spoke to the person about me. And you have to be very sincere. Because imagine they gave me 10,000, I came and I told that they gave me 2,000. I'm sure some of us are involved in the whole week celebration and, what's the name? Sponsorships, and we know all these things. You go and you corner the money and all those kind of things. You should desist from that. Be honest. Because somebody may tell you that I gave you 10,000. You may tell whoever you're supposed to report to that the person gave you 2,000. When it comes in that situation, transparency is not there. Trust is not there. You don't know who you go and meet in an interview. The person can use it against you. We're able to launch that magazine. We got so much. In fact, we got a committee of the year. I was at the same time the park secretary. And I was working. I was doing so many things. You ask yourself, are you here for first class or you are here for... Some of us wanted to pass and go. Right? We all have our strength. We all have our weaknesses. How many minutes? We all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses. But the social capital is very okay, so I have time. All right. So the social capital. In fact, when I was in school in 2006, my brother introduced me to one of his good friends. And as at now, there are some of us who don't know how to keep in touch. People who keep in touch when they need something, two of us. When it comes to recommendation, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, most of you would want to go for graduate studies after your first degree. Some struggle to get recommendation. If you know some of your brothers and sisters who have taken the lead, ask them. But I didn't struggle with that. I came from the village, because when I was in school, apart from the normal academics and the parks work, my teachers were my friends. I did national service with all, not, if not all, most of them. I was, not that we did service together, but when it came to time for invigilation, we did it together. And that friendship started. So when I did my recommendations, it was just phone call. I got it. When I was in the Faculty of Law, University of Ghana too, when I was done and still needed a recommendation to go for my master's, because they were my friends, I didn't suffer. Because if you have to write a recommendation for somebody, right, it's not just about the person got this GPA, no. Proper schools demand more than that. What have you done to help yourself? What have you done to help your community? I'm sure we have the RUDEP. We still have the RUDEP. I don't know that is still there. I never went because every vacation I was working. I was working because I told myself that I wasn't going to rely on my mother or my older siblings because, like I said, death doesn't give notice when death is coming. So I took my destiny in my own hands. Vacations, me and some of our friends who are still in parks, who are still members of this parish, we're not going home. We were residing campus. We had to struggle because, in life, if you work hard and you struggle, you will come out better, in my opinion, than somebody who got life on a silver platter and maybe abused certain things. So internship was very, very key to me. And in fact, I did internship with a person right from my level 200 through my law faculty. National service, I didn't struggle. When it was time for service, he asked me, George, choose between UNDP and the Faculty of the Law. And I said, okay, I want Faculty of the Law. In fact, in 2010, those of you who were born, I'm sure you're all more than 12 years, so you were all born. Constitutional Review Commission. The same person gave me the opportunity to either go and work there or manage his law firm. I said, I wanted a law firm. The Constitutional Review Commission was giving better money. But, you have to be smart in life. You can be a shark, but you may not be smart. Because I told myself, let me behave well. Who knows if the person had plans of even sponsoring my legal education. And the person did. I didn't ask him for that. The person did. And in fact, the person got a project somewhere, and my prayer was, God, let this person touch this person's hearts. And if possible, let him buy a car for me. I just said that. Elections are held on 7th, right? 7th of December, 2008. They were writing an exam. And I went there, he said, George, get a car, let him buy for you. And when he said, I thought I was dreaming, because, it wasn't something that I ever considered. So after a week, he called me, George, have you gotten the car? I said, oh, sir, I thought I didn't hear it well. In fact, so I went to those of you who know Nissan Micra. I went and got that small car because I didn't want to go for a bigger car. When I brought the car, I said, no, George, this car is too small for you. So hard work, dedication, I would say teamwork as well. Because some of us do not know how to work together. There are some of us who give us, what's the name, group work, as at now. Some will do, some will not do. 4 years ago, I told my students who were called to the bar last year that I'm giving you an assignment. I know that some of you will not participate, but me, I know how to catch you. When it was time for them to do the presentation, I asked them, volunteer, be honest. I said, you all go to church? They said, yes, sir. Muslims, yes, sir. I said, okay, so how many of you did not take part in that? And nobody. They all said, I said, are you sure? They said, yes. I said, okay. So prior to that, I had gotten the information of those who did not do. But I wanted them to be honest to me. Because everything you do in this world is about honesty. But some will say in marriage and relationships, be too honest. That one there, as a lawyer, I'll tell you, it's not everything that you have to be too open. So when I asked them how many of you, they said, oh, they all took part. I said, okay. So I gave it to those who I knew took part to read the presentation. I'm sure you've done group work before and you know all these things. So when it was time for questioning, I directed the questions to those I knew for a fact that they didn't take part. And I got them. So some people will tell you that I'm not on good terms with this person, so I can't work with. It goes beyond school. When you go out of the school community, there are certain things you do as a group. So those of you who don't know how to work together, I beg you, desist. Or when you go home, read the prayer by St. Francis of Assisi. I'm sure those of you who will know. Those who don't know too, make sure you know. So internships in our current dispensation is very, very important. Because the kind of jobs that exist now, in my opinion, and I'm sure my brothers will agree with me, we haven't expanded much. But we have so many students at the moment. And now, because of the double track, I don't know whether they have even entered university now. So the number will be more. But the demand, so the smart ones like you, once you are in school, forget about the course you are doing. Volunteer. In elsewhere, they do that. It's not about going to sit behind the computer to do a formal thing. You can be a PA to somebody who can be sending you. You can have a lecturer, you can just walk to him or her. You know, we like people who can approach us. We should not come and approach you out of the time. Somebody can approach you, and if there is something, the person will remember you than somebody who will just come and sit somewhere. Because we are in a challenging environment and a very competitive. Elsewhere, we have academic advisory. I'm sure we have the counseling, but in my opinion, we are not doing much here. Sometimes even to get a reference letter for a job is an issue. Elsewhere, they will go with you like what my brother, Mr. Jima, did. They will go through with you how to write your CV. Because, for example, the kind of CV you may write here may be different from what you may write in another jurisdiction. So what the market needs. So some of them may even help you to get an internship. But here it's like, go for what? How do we say it? Each one for God for us. I wish we had more time to talk about some of these things, but I'm sure my time is up. So I would end it here. Hope to see you another time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So as I said earlier, after all the panelists are done talking, we have a panel discussion where all our questions will be addressed. So let's send our questions via WhatsApp to the numbers that are displayed on the screen. So our fourth input is entrepreneurship, setting up your own business, and Mr. Derek Finkler is the one to take that. Let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Good evening. I'll be very brief. But I have a question for you. one to this side and another one to this side. Whoever gets it right, I will reward you. You can't hear it. Whoever gets it right, I will reward you. The question, what's the student population? And I want to know the number of non-teaching staff we have. That one goes to this side, and student population goes to this side. Okay, all right. Anyway, the last time I checked, that was last year, it was almost 60,000 students. As for your question, I haven't checked, but it's very important. To start a business, you need capital. You need capital. But when you go to the books, they will tell you capital is cash, money, land, equipment, or plant. But things have changed. To me, you need people. Location. That's why I asked you those two questions. You are here. This environment is a wonderful environment for business, right? When I was in school, level 200, I used to go to Togo. Yeah, 1999. I came here in 98. I used to go to Togo every Saturday. Go and buy razor blades. Yeah. Yes. Shavings. Singlets. Socks. Those times we have bush canteen. I don't know whether they are there. And Andes. I will sell to bush canteen and the female horse. It used to be Water and NSB. So I'm telling you that you're in a very wonderful environment. Make good use of it. The location is very important. That's why you see Papaya is coming here. Papaya is here. KC is here. Botanical Gardens, they are working on it. You need attitude. Your attitude must change. If you want to set up business, you can set up business without having anything, nothing. But you need the attitude. Failure shouldn't be part of you. If you see my slides, because something generally accepted principle. So if I want to teach you how to set up a business, I'm required to give you those stuff. But I'm not coming to talk on that. You need a business plan. When you go to BAME library, some of these things, they are there. Right? I'm not coming to talk on business plan, how to write a business plan. You are not there. You need a strategy. We have a lot of business strategies. We have the pestle, we have the SWOT, we have cost leadership, differentiation, focus, competitive advantage, how to enter, we have the measures. My focus yeah, this is what I'm coming to focus on. This is what so I brought calculator. Anyway, who brought pen and a book, not paper? How many people? I've been observing. I haven't seen you guys writing. I saw 2 people typing on their phone. I don't know whether they are WhatsApping or whatever. But this is very important. You have noble, well-experienced people talking to you. I was expecting past to advise you to bring pen and a book so that you can keep it. I might not give you my slides, or I might give you my slides. It depends on my mood. Because what I'm coming to teach you, you won't get it. You won't get it. You won't get it anywhere. Right? So let's say we have 60,000 students. Right? And 1/3 of 60,000 students, they are not interested in birthday. They don't want to celebrate their birthday. 1/3 of them. But 1/4 are interested in celebrating their birthdays. You are starting business now. You don't have money. You don't need money. So 1/4 will be how much? $15,000. Anyway, let me take you guys back. During the Easter, I was so worried because Father put it there. The cameraman, he has a program, so we have to go outside to look for photo. Are you being fair to yourself? My people. You don't have professional photo in past? Okay, please. So the 15,000 divided by 365. Or you divide it by 240. Are you doing that? Pardon? What did you? 62.5. Are you sure? Let me see it. You did a 240. 365 days. 365 days in a year. We get 41. That means you have 41 people celebrating their birthdays every day in this university. You don't know how to make a cake, you don't need to. And other stuff, toffee, drinks, this. Can work something out with a planner, right? So your job, you just link the birthday person, you get a nice package, you link the birthday person and the planner. Student package. Let's say student package is 400 Ghana. 400 Ghana times 41. $16,400. Right. We have 30 days. I will take the 360 out. We have, let's say, We have 30 days in a month. You come to school in a year, 8 months, right? So 30 times 8, 240 times what you had, the 41. I hope you are here. Are you lost? I'll go back. Let me go back. Once in a while, I'll chip something in. Do you have washing bay on campus? Has anyone thought about that? How many cars do we have on campus? How many cars do we have on campus? So do you want an outsider to come and open a washing bay here? Anyway, back to the main issue. 15,000 students divided by 240. 62. 60. So 62 people celebrate their birthday every day. And you work something out, a nice package, cost-effective, student package. You polish it, right? The cake woman will bring it. You don't need transport. Every day. Let's say it costs 400 Ghana. The cake, some few drinks, this for the friends. Multiply it for me a day. $24,000. So a day you make a sales of 24,800. A day. You see, setting up a business is thinking, creativity, right? Looking for problems. Everywhere you go, look for problems. If you can't solve problem, you cannot set up a business. If you don't have eye for problem, you cannot set up a business. You don't need land. You don't need cash. You have to be creative. So the 24,000 times 240 days. We have 30 days. I just want to make it simple for you. 30 days in a month times 8 months in a year you spend in school. 8 months, you spend 8 months. 4 months, 4 months, 30 days. What did you get? Oh. That's why I brought my calculator. Are we here? We have 15,000 students interested in celebrating their birthdays, divided by the number of days we spend in school, 240. You get 62, right? You go and see the cake or event planner. The woman or the gentleman make a nice package for you, birthday package, which will cost 400 Ghana. So, in a day, you are selling to 62 people. 62 times 400. 24,800. A day. Are we here? Times 240.
$52,000. 5,952,000.
$5 million a year. That's sales. If you make 5% of it, and you know the funny thing, the students will give you recommendations, their friends. Anyway, back to the staff, the teaching and non-teaching staff. I won't spend my time on that. When you go to cash office, right, you get a number. You go to cash office. As a businessman, you should be able to make your way everywhere you go. Whatever it takes for you to get the number, you have to do it to get it. That's your capital. Imagine last Easter, every household, they will kill a bird, isn't it? Chicken. Christmas, they will kill chicken. We have people who are into dressed chicken. They have their own vans. Have you thought of linking them? Because these days, people are so busy. The teaching and non-teaching staff, they are busy. They have family. They have to come for mass. They can't go to market. Right? So if we have 1,000 or 500 and you are supplying them, I'll give you my last example. It's life. All the examples are life. I think 2-3 months ago, the Archbishop launched Legacy of Hope. Have you made an inquiry about it? How the fundraising is going? Have we, as aspiring entrepreneurs, thought about how to help the archdiocese to raise the money for a fee? It's business. I hope you are getting me. If you go and you tax the administrator to give you database of Catholics in Greater Accra, as a businessman, that's your capital. You need a database. You don't need cash. You don't need land. Right? When you get a database, then you play with it. I think we can get over 10,000. So every month, if everyone is giving 20 Ghana, please do the math for me. My time is up. I wanted to give you the last two, but you see, in brief, I want you to be creative. Look for problems. Everywhere you go, everywhere. Your lecture room, you meet your friend, what your friend is wearing, what your friend likes. You can stand here every Sunday, count the number of people going to church, what they are wearing. Today, people want comfortable life. It's really here. People want comfortable life. They want to sit in their home, their offices, and just a click, they get what they want. I want something in Accra. For the past 2 months, I haven't been able to go to Accra. But I won't tell you that thing. All right? And I think a lot of people sitting here, they also want that thing. But they can't go to Accra. They are busy. It's a problem. Stand here. Look for what they are wearing, their children, what they are eating, how you can help them. Right? Then you can make money. Thank you.
So before I invite the next speaker, I'd like us to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Mrs. Kuti. She is the respected president of the Ladies Auxiliary. So, Doctor, please give us a wave. So our fifth input is email etiquette. And we invite Mr. Sylvester Osei to take us through that one. Please not forget. Let's clap for him a second. And let's not forget to keep our questions coming too. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Yes, so today we talk about email etiquette. And I'll start with a story. So I have a colleague who has worked in the non-profit space for a number of years, and then he's going on retirement, but he still keeps getting jobs. So he wanted to employ an assistant who will do the day-to-day running of the firm so that he brings the business. So he was looking at employing someone with flexible working conditions. You could stay home to work. You just come to the office like twice in a week, and then you are good to go. So this colleague advertised the job on WhatsApp and all the platforms, and I believe you keep receiving some of these applications. So when he sent out the applications, someone applied, and then he asked that I put in a word for him. So I did, and the person had the job. So the person's first day at work, my friend, who is the MD, he sent him a plan of what he wants to do. And the essence of this sending of email was for the employee to look at the document and also share his opinion about the document and what he can also add on or maybe take away. So the MD sends a very detailed email that, welcome, I have this document which details what we are going to do in the next 6 months. Kindly review and let me know your thoughts. Now the employee responds to the mail and says, okay, full stop. So the MD waits a day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, because he was expecting that the person would take time to review the document and revert, but it never happened. So after a week, he called him and says, okay, I intend to employ you as full-time, but because of your bad email etiquette, I am going to convert it into internship, and I'm going to slash the salary. So in effect, I'm going to teach you. So this is a good introduction to my presentation on emails. So what we write in our emails represents us. It's our brand. And so if we write emails anyhow, our employers will see us anyhow. Fortunately for us, the university gives each student and each staff an official email address so that we don't have to create personal email addresses naming ourselves SexyKiss001. So to start with, emails are quick and easy conversation platforms where within corporate circles, we share information, we have conversations amongst ourselves. It's also a medium where we store information. So let's say we go for field work, and then we come with photographs. The communication person will send an email with a link to the pictures, just so everyone can see. Emails also help us to reach out to larger communities. And I believe as students, each and every day, the university is sharing information on their events, on scholarship opportunities, and other information that the public affairs think would be of interest to you. Now, there are some organizations that have very strong email culture. Even if I speak to you, like, we are going for the meeting tomorrow, and we all agree that we are going for the meeting, I'll follow up with a mail. There are some companies, that is their culture, and there are others to anything goes. So as we are preparing ourselves for the world of work, it is imperative that we get used to emails. We get used to writing very good emails so that when an employer sees you, he sees professionalism in you, and he would want to even give you a promotion. And in terms of email platforms, we have Gmail, Ymail, which we are all familiar with. Next slide. Now, I asked someone to send me his CV, and I believe when you speak to your uncles or your lecturers that you want job opportunities, they will say, send me your CV. And please, next slide. And you have people just send an attachment, and they will not add any description to the mail, and assume that the person who is received the mail will know. It doesn't work that way. Can I please have the next slide? It doesn't work that way. So from the slides, I show an email that someone sent me. It has just the attachment, and then the email subject is hello, and then the email content is Kwabna's CV. And I'm supposed to know which Kwabna it is. So please, when you are sending emails, please put yourself in the shoes of your employer. Your HR manager, for example, is receiving like 20, 30 CVs in a day. And so in order for you to stand out, you will have to make sure that you write very concise emails so that when the person sees your work, he knows the action to take. So so that's the example of the email that I had from the presentation. So the subject was hello, and then the content was Kwabna's CV, and there's an attachment. Okay, next slide, please. So here we look at some of the structures of an email. So when you are sending an email, we first have the recipient, and with the recipient, we have just below it, you can have a CC, and then we have the BCC. So I can be writing an email to my worthy president, Professor Chermi. So he is the main recipient, and if I want to copy respected president, I will keep her in the copy section. So I'll put respected's email at the copy section. What it basically means is that the email is directed to Professor Chermi, but I want to keep respected president in the loop. I want to keep her informed that I'm sharing an email, and then she's in copy. And sometimes, if you want to send to other people outside your organization, you can also use the BCC, which is the blind carbon copy. And the blind carbon copy also helps us to protect data. So let's say, for example, all of us, Pax Romana, the president is sending us an email, but he doesn't want all of you to get the entire database. So he will make use of the blind carbon copy function. And then the next email structure is a subject. And the subject mostly is more of the summary of the content of the email. So you would want your subject to be catchy, so that when your employer or any recipient who sees the mail sees it, he knows that, oh, this is what you are talking about. So apart from the subject, then we get to the message. So in the message, you are always advised to start with a greeting, just like we write in formal letters, because emails are formal correspondence. So we'd want to start with your greetings, like dear sir or dear madam. If you know the person, you can say dear Dr. Ganley, or hello, Dr. Ganley. It helps the person to connect. Then you have your content, which we always advise should be precise and concise. Just go straight to the point, because within corporate settings, people are busy and they want to read just the necessary content and move on. And then we have the sign-off and then the email signature, which we'll look at in the next slide. And then when you have successfully had all of, been able to create all of this, then you can comfortably hit your send button. So the next slide shows us a sample CV. So we have the two, which is the recipient of the email, bridget.bempa@aol.com. There is no carbon copy or blind copy. But at the subject, I would read, it says, Benedicta Asechere, gentle reminder on meeting on Thursday at 3 p.m. So anyone who sees the mail knows that it's a reminder to an upcoming meeting. And then in the subject, she says, hello, Bridget. Hope you are doing well. This is a gentle reminder about our meeting this Thursday at 3 p.m. Kindly confirm your availability by responding to this email. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you. So you'd see that this email has the greetings. It has the content, which includes a point of action. And the action, basically, the person is expecting from you, the recipient, is to confirm your availability by responding back to the mail. And then you sign off with your thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to hearing from you. Best regard. I hope to hear from you. And then you have your email signature. Now, the signature is very important because it has your contact details. It has your name, your email address, and your telephone number, and probably the organization you are working from. Just so if maybe you apply for a job and they want to call you, and they can't find your CV from the attachment, they can quickly get back to your email and then find your contact details there, and then they'll be able to call you. Without which, they may skip you and give the opportunity to someone else. So the next slides basically detail what to do and what not to do when writing emails. So we'll start with the to-dos. And the first is that you always have to proofread your emails because you don't want to send mails with errors. You don't want to do that. Just imagine a graduate from Legon sends an email and there are mistakes. Now, the good manager will call your attention to it, but the bad one will begin to form impressions about you. Say, look at this Legon lady or Legon gentleman who is writing mails with a lot of mistakes in it. Secondly, you should pay attention to the subject of your email because, like I said, that is the first thing the person would see, and that would direct the person to go and read more. Always include a greeting in your email. If you don't greet, it makes it sound like as if you are angry. You are writing to somebody and you just say, Prof, kindly respond to the meeting availability. It sounds rude. So it's always advisable to start with a greeting. You would want to also keep your message concise and engaging. And you have to evaluate the tone of your email. And I think these lessons on writing, tone writing, we know it already. You don't want to, so in most corporate emails, you would hear words like kindly find attached. Please endeavor to review the document. You would want to sound as polite as possible, even to a point that sometimes when you are angry, maybe your boss has sent you work. This week, there's a lot of holidays coming up, and then on Thursday, 5 p.m., your boss sends you some documents to review, which you know will disrupt your holiday plans. Even though you are angry, you would want to reply, noted with thanks. And then you move on. So you always have to be polite in your email correspondence. And you have to also understand the recipients so that whilst you are writing, you know the tone to or how to write to. So if, let's say, you are employed in a company and you are writing to your MD, it will be different from writing to your colleague, officers, or interns. Because to the MD, you want to check even every word before you send. And we should pay attention to grammatical errors. I know it's so normal to write first time and have mistakes in it, but after you write, please go over it and make sure that everything is correct before you send. One of the tools that can help you in reviewing whether your grammar is good or not is Grammarly. And if you visit grammarly.com, whatever you write, you can just paste it into it, and if there's a mistake, it will highlight it in red, and then you can change it and send. And then when someone sends an email to you, it is always good to acknowledge receipt of it and then mention that you will respond later. So let's say someone is asking you for some information which you have readily. Immediately you receive the mail, you provide. But there are some email requests which will require that you do more search. So when you receive the mail, you can just say, oh, I will respond within the week. And then you make sure that within the week you respond. Mostly when you get an email and you don't reply, there's a tendency that you will forget, and the email may get lost in your thread. When you receive more mails, the very important ones may get hidden. So when you get the mail, just acknowledge receipt and then maybe put it on your to-do somewhere that you are going to respond to the mail from your colleague. Now we move on to things that you should not do when writing emails. So the first one is you don't have to have unprofessional emails, like I mentioned some. And fortunately for us, the university has given us nice email addresses with their websites on it that we can take advantage of. It is always advised that you ensure that you finish writing the entire email, write the entire subject before you put in the recipient's email address. And this will help you avoid sending uncompleted emails by mistake. So let's say you are writing an email to your boss. You start by putting his email address there, then you go to the subject, then you start writing the content, and mistakenly you clicked on the send. That is not good for you. So you always have to make sure that everything is complete. You have proofread it. Then you put in the recipient's email address, and then you send. Now, you also don't have to share very personal conversations via email. So let's say we are all in the office and someone was sick, for example, and the person was vomiting. Then you pick your email and send your colleague, hey, na feel. It doesn't make sense. So please don't share personal content via email. You also don't want to use caps, too much caps in your email. So you are writing an email to your president and you want to ask him that, please review the work that I have done and send back. And this please review that you've written it in capital letters. What it means is that you are ordering the manager to review quickly and send back, which is very rude. Some also write emails and highlight in red. Kindly review and send the document back, and they highlight it in red. You may be getting a second letter soon. Okay, so the next to look out for is you don't have to reply or when you are addressing one person in a group. So all of us, PACS, they've sent us an email that we are going for an excursion next week. And next week you have a medical appointment. So you are informing the PACS president that I will not be able to make it because I'll be visiting the doctor. Then instead of sending it to the PACS president only, you hit reply all. And then the entire PACS membership knows that you are going to the hospital next week. You don't want to do that. And you don't have to write emails if you don't know how to use punctuations, tenses, or have vocabulary. So in effect, all these explanations, you see that before you write one email, there are a lot of considerations you have to take before you finally hit the send button. Okay? And remember, we are saying this because your email is like your brand. There are people who apply for jobs, they just attach the document and they don't write anything. Please, let's desist from that. And even within our academic circles, sometimes we want references, sometimes we want our lecturers to help us in an application we are undertaking. Some will decide to walk in, knock at the door, and ask. And when you ask, the lecturer may probably forget. But if you have his email address and you send him a mail, you see that you even get responses quicker than walking in. So in effect, now we've learned about CV writing, and these are CVs we are going to send to employers to ask for job opportunities. Let's also get used to writing good emails so that we don't get emails to be a hindrance to some big opportunity that God is preparing for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So our third input and the last one, which is time management. We invite Professor Kweku Chireme to lead us in that one. Let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Good evening to you all. For me, it's a great pleasure to be here. I was the one who received the letter from PAX inviting us to come over as KSJI to do a mentorship drive. And I remember the first time I saw the list of the topics the students were interested in, the one that really caught my eye was time management. Why? Because, I've been on the University of Ghana campus for a while. This is my 14th year. And gradually, students are getting me to think that there is no time for anything, okay? But I was a student before. I was here in this university. I did a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry, single major. I came back for a master's, MPhil in chemistry, and then I left to do my PhD. And I know there is always a lot of time, okay? So every single thing, or every single time I go into the lecture room, students want me to believe that there is no time for anything. In fact, there are a lot of statements going around. One of them is, oh, Professor Chireme, your course is not the only course we are doing. What are the other statements going around? At least in chemistry, I know they say that my course is not the only course they are doing, right? And that there are other things that they are also doing. So I shouldn't think that it is only spectroscopy and structure elucidation that they are doing. So this evening, I know this semester has been an unusually long one because of the strike. And we started teaching all of a sudden, and it's been a lot of lectures, okay? So I reckoned if I came here with a long PowerPoint presentation, a lot of people might sleep through it, okay? So don't think of this as a presentation. Just think of it as a video of some sort that you are watching, okay? So before I do anything, I want us to consider a few facts, okay? And the fact of the matter is, if we consider the longest year, that's 365 one-quarter days in the year, there are 8,766 hours in there, okay? But we must sleep, right? How long do we sleep? What is the best sleep? We are encouraged to have sleep hours of between 7 to 9 hours, right? Are we getting this? But assuming we take 8 hours even out as sleep, okay? That's about 2,922 hours. If we take this out of all the hours we have in the year, we have about 5,844 hours left. How long is an hour? We've been here, I think, almost a couple of hours, right? How long is the hour? I think that already people are, yeah, I know the students, they don't have time for anything now. So people are starting to yawn and they want to go away, isn't it? Yeah, so the hour is long enough. If you have 5,844 hours, what I think that means is that there is enough time to do everything. Remembering that the earth itself was, or the universe itself was created in 6 days, and the creator actually had some time to rest. That's a direct way of telling us that, what are we doing? Are we creating the world all over again? And that for the first 6 days out of 7, there is enough time to do everything, okay? So when the topic time management and the associated skills actually are supposed to come naturally. So as young men or as adults, we have things that we have to do, and we find time to do them to our satisfaction, isn't it? It should come naturally, since there is enough time to do everything, okay? When the issue of time management actually becomes an issue which we are worried about, it always spells that there is a problem, okay? So when I saw your letter and I saw time management, I knew there was a problem, because I had the experience every day when I go to class. People don't have time for everything. Time management is something that is supposed to come naturally. If it has to be a topic that I have to lecture about, it is because there is a problem, okay? Because people are having problems with many things. And mostly, the problems that we are talking about can be summarized as distractions. That we seem to have quite a lot to do, and there are a number of distractions that actually prevent us from doing the important. So therefore, time management, if we think about it, is about becoming more efficient, okay? Becoming more disciplined, becoming more focused, okay? Being able to plan properly and organize ourselves, having a structured way of going through our day-to-day lives, prioritization, having a strategy, coming up with a list of the things that we have to do. And of course, we also have to be accountable. So if we are managing our time well, how do we know that we are actually managing our time well? Nowadays, there are several tools that are available to help you in your time management, and we'll talk about that very soon. So what are the guidelines? The first one is there has to be a target, okay? At our level, maybe the target is our education. In fact, at this stage, I don't think there is anything else more important than our education. Okay? Our education comes first. We will move very soon into a stage of our life where we will not be in school anymore, so education will not be the target. Our work life, we need to work. Some of us will end up being in a family. We have housekeeping things to do, physical fitness, hobbies, leisure, games. In fact, some people also have addictions, okay? Some people have addictions that they need to manage their time properly to be able to satisfy. Our spirituality, in fact, we can state as many activities as possible, but whatever it is we want to have a time management plan for, there has to be a target. Then also, there has to be an overall goal or an overall aim, okay? What is the aim? Why are we trying to manage our times better? Because we want to meet all the relevant deadlines, or increase our efficiency at what we do, or get rid of distractions, accomplish our goals, deliver the relevant targets. Okay, we can list as many as we can. Now, the next or the third deadline is if we start to look at things the way I have just tried to reiterate, what we need to pay attention to is not to overtask. We get to a point when we realize that we just don't have enough time for something. It is important not to accept it. So if you are not going to get time to do this job, don't accept it, okay? So we have prioritization, timetables, Gantt charts, and calendars, okay? To do that, we have to take a look at ourselves, who we are, what stage of life that we are in before we can do this. So like I said in the previous slide, for us, those of us at the University of Ghana, it's our education, campus life. I think that is the main driving thing, okay? What is the aim? That we will get our BScs, our Bachelor of Arts, our Master of Arts, our MPhils and PhDs for the postgraduates, yeah? Our job now is we have to educate ourselves. And that is the main thing. So that is what is going to be the main priority. Every other thing else that we are doing should fit in, okay? And I also said that very soon we will also be moving into a stage of our life where we will not be at school anymore. So maybe we will start working. Then the main priority will be our work, because we need to make a living in order to keep the roof on our head and etc. So our job or our work will become the main thing, and then every other thing else that we're doing will fit in, isn't it? We can list as many as possible. So what I have done here is to give an example. Okay, so as students, now you have your education is the most important thing to you. We mentioned about having enough sleep. So let's say we sleep at 10 p.m. and we wake up at 6 a.m. That's 8 hours of sleep. And that's more than enough for us, isn't it? Our day normally starts with our lectures, 7:30 a.m. And then our lectures, most of them are ending around about 7:30 p.m., isn't it? Now, in this case, the interesting thing is that you have the university timetable for the lectures. So Monday to Friday, you have a timetable to follow. You have lectures to attend. But you are not attending lecture at every hour from 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. So what you want to do is you want to fit into the free spaces, other things that you are interested in, isn't it? So how are you going to do that? Now, remember that if you start your day at 7:30 a.m. and you have lectures, that means that the concentration, you are distracted by the fact that you have a lecture at 3:30 p.m., okay? So doing heavy mental grasping of concepts and stuff like that during that time will be very difficult for you, because there's always the anticipation that, oh, you have a lecture at 3:30 p.m. So normally, what is best to do is to fit in the legwork. Okay, so during the time from 7:30 a.m., 7:30 p.m., you have lectures. If you have a lot of lectures, you can only fit a few items. If you have few lectures, you can fit more items in there. But what you want to fit in there is more of the legwork, okay? So you were not able to copy some notes the other time at the lecture. Now is the time to walk to your friend, collect it and then copy it. You were not able to photocopy the tutorials the other time, yeah, in anticipation for the 3:30 lecture. Now is the time you go and get the photocopy and actually photocopy the tutorials, okay? You put in a lot of things that don't involve heavy mental activity, but they involve trekking, okay? Now, once lectures have ended, 7:30 p.m., the hours from 8 to 10 p.m. are quiet. So this is the time when you can actually do, yeah, I know that. This is the time when you can actually sit down by yourself and do some very heavy thinking kind of activities, okay? So 8 to 10 p.m., when you sit down, there is no anticipation, there is nothing. You can now sit down and all those things that you have been gathering, all those materials that you have been gathering throughout the day, you can actually analyze them. Now, the strategy, I think, at this level should be that 8 to 10 p.m., we should be able to look at the things that we have lectures for the previous day. So, the following day. So, if the following day we have maths and biology, then this night, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., that is the time when we are looking at what was said at the previous lecture, what we think by the course outline will be treated at the next lecture, and how it is that we should prepare for this. Is this something that we are actually doing? Do we actually prepare ourselves the night before for the lectures that we attend? Is that the case? Or do we just walk into every lecture? Because, you know, I have students that do this on a day-to-day basis, okay? And what happens, and should I say the way to know that this is what they are doing is when you ask a question, all of them start to flip their pages, telling you that, look, they have not been to these pages ever since you parted with them, isn't it? So are we actually looking at our notes and recalling what has been treated before we go, the day before we go for lectures? Is that what we are doing? Is there anybody here who is doing that? Nobody is doing that. We are all waiting until the IA or the exams before we look at our... Yeah, so basically these are the little things. The weekends, there are no lectures, which means that our timetables can be expanded during this time, isn't it? So if during the week we have been learning prior to each lecture, now at the weekend, we want to galvanize everything. So all our subjects are on the timetable for the weekend. There is enough, we know the times that we have to come to church, the times that we have to do church programs, but we know that these are the hours that we are supposed to what? Sit down and then have a look at our education, which I think is the most important thing for us now, okay? The beautiful thing about your generation is that currently there are many tools. I don't know how you guys look at the mobile phones, the tablets and the laptops that you have. What do you use them for, okay? Now there are many tools to help you. Your mobile phone can give you an alert when it's time to learn biology. Your mobile phone can also give you an alert when it's time to go to church. There are many tools. You have calendars, even the, what do you call it? The email system that the university has a calendar which you can use that reminds you of all your activities, you know, on a day-to-day basis. So we have the tools to help us manage our time. But what it is that we are not actually using any of these tools, isn't it? However, I mean, you have your timetables, you have your structure, you know the time for your activities, you have the tools to remind you. There are certain times that you can do some restructuring. I know exams week is like a couple of weeks away, isn't it? So when we get into exams week, there is no lectures. So whatever timetable you have been operating so far should restructure. And that restructuring should actually factor in how you are going to write the exams. So during the examination week or the revision week, the first days of the revision week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, what are you learning? You're probably learning the subjects that you will be writing later on, right? Like your last paper coming up. Thursday, Friday, yeah? You might probably learn those that are coming after the first paper. So Saturday, Sunday, going forward, you are learning towards your first papers. There has to be a plan, okay? There has to be a deliberate plan, okay? During the holidays, when we are actually not in school, of course, our schedules and our timetables also will restructure. So what are the benefits? If you are managing your time properly, I think all the grades that you should be getting will be A's, okay? Your physical fitness exercises should make you fit. Your spiritual experiences and richness should be on point. Your personal efficiency ratings should go up, okay? But everything that I have described will differ depending on the stage of life that you are. Whether you are a working mother, you will find yourself later as a nursing mother, a family man. All these schedules are different, okay? But the experience less pressure. You know, good time management means you experience less pressure on a day-to-day basis. So what are the conclusions? Time management involves deliberate attempt. When you intend to manage your time, it is something that you deliberately do. And you do that because you want to instill more discipline into the things that you do by having a conscious plan, having a priority. You must put all your priorities in place, okay? What is your most important priority? You need to know that. You must have aim and goals. There are several tools and applications to help you manage your time, okay? And the benefits, if you are able to do all this, are countless, okay? In fact, time management is such that you actually have to try it. Try it. Try having a conscious, deliberate, structured way of operating on campus. And I can assure you that you will not be the same. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Prof. So now we move on to panel discussion, and I'll invite our moderator in the person of Ms. Joyce Ajemula to lead us. Please let's welcome her with a round of applause.
Good evening once again. Pax, as the moderator and checking the time, I know we are far behind our stipulated time, but let's all pay attention and enjoy this discussion as we continue with the program. And starting with the program, I would like to give this question to Dr. Tinkler. Yeah. Right. So some students want to know, up to now, though they are studying courses, some are almost done, but they don't know their career path or choice yet. What do they do about it? Or how can you help them out?
So like I said, so the first thing is confusion is okay. Okay? It's not something that you should be panicking that I'm almost done and I don't know what to do yet. That's okay. So that's the first thing to start with. There's going to be a period of, hopefully for all of you, national service, right? That's another important period in the life of most of us, that you get to test some of the things you have learned or some of the things you have passion about, right? So that's an area that you actually get to interact with people who are on the field and they have probably developed a lot of experience working in that area. That's when you start to ask the questions, right? So, you know, for example, you've gone into you've studied, let's say, psychology, and you've gone to do your service, let's say, I don't want to do the usual university stuff, but let's say you've gone to do your service with one of the ministries, right? Transport. It probably has nothing to do with psychology, right? But you get into that space and then you are like, okay, maybe I just have, you know, some skill in design, so I might be able to contribute to thinking about road design, traffic design, and things like that. And that's something you may want to push forward. So I would encourage those people to think carefully about the national service. It is not a time to actually play. A lot of us probably don't take it serious, and we're actually looking for places that will go where they won't give us work. You are shooting yourself in the foot. Even if you don't get employed, there's a lot of things you can learn and build yourself, develop the ability to work in a team, and then network. So for me, I think that phase would be something that is important for them to try to think about, either the skills that they have or personal interests, and then see how they can hone that together. I would probably invite other panel members if people have.
Yeah, so just to add to what Doc has just said, there is one thing that we need to realize when it comes to careers, that we, as talented as we are, can do more than one thing. Okay, we can do more than one thing. Some of us started wanting to be medical doctors, and here we are chemists. Okay, we can do more than one thing. That's the first thing. There is nothing wrong with having one of those things in your mind now, but it doesn't presuppose that that is what you are definitely going to do. So I think, yeah, you can have some ideas of the areas that you want to, but remember that you can do more than one thing. And to get the opportunity to be able to choose between the many things that you can do, you need good grades. So yes, our career paths are important, but I think at this point in time, the main agenda that should be on every student's mind is to eat, sleep, and get an A. Eat, sleep, get an A. Because I can assure you that when the grades are good and you go out there, all the things that you can do will now be put before you, and you will have the luxury with good grades to choose which one it is that you want. So since we are out of time.
Okay, in addition to that, please pardon me to use some of your first name. Mr. George, are there factors to consider when you are making a career choice?
Oh, yes. You have to look out for a job that you think you get people to work for. You know, there are some careers which are more, I don't want to say profitable, but there are some jobs that it is easier to make an impact, or it is easier to sell than others. I advise people that how the world is going, think of profession. Except maybe where your parents are well connected, or they have their businesses that you may want to manage. Because imagine you are an architect. Then tomorrow, imagine you're an architect. In fact, I was talking to a student yesterday, and she had so many things in her mind. She's an architect working for one of the reputable building construction companies, and she still has some issues because she's afraid that she'll be laid off because of some restructuring. I told her that what you should be happy is that you are a professional. If something happens to you now, you may not struggle as much as somebody who, one, may not be well connected, whose parents may not be there, and who may not have that certificate. So think of a profession.
This brings us to our next question. A sister wants to know, most of the times, apart from our certificates, that is our academia, we are advised to take courses or learn skills, but most of the skills are not income fetching. So with situations like this, how do we handle it, or how do we go about it, knowing or picking a skill that we can learn and know that it's income fetching?
To me? Okay. It boils down to mentorship, like what we are doing here. I, for one, I'm from the village, so I'm always happy to talk about my village. When I was in the university, my first degree was in psychology and sociology. And people would say they gave the course to me. I'm sure some of you have been saying that. I didn't choose, they gave the course to me. When it comes to mentorship, in my opinion, there are two ways, either a formal one and an informal one. What we are doing may amount to being informal because I'm sure we introduce ourselves. My brother was then teaching at the Kia University Law Faculty. I would say that I learned the teaching trade from him. And the person who became my boss when I was in the university working. There wasn't any formalized thing that come and let him teach you. But I saw the potential in whatever they were doing. People would say galamsey. If you say galamsey, it's not about going to do the good thing. Doing so many things at the same time. Because I remember as young as I was in 2004 or something, Saturdays he'll go and teach. Then he'll go to his chambers. He'll do this, he'll do that, he'll do that. And when I came to work with this, my mentor, who became my boss and my lecturer, he was also doing the same thing. Weekends I'll be there, he'll call me, George, meet me at Amasaman. I didn't know where it was. Togai, where you go? Go meet me. So I learned so many things. So you have to also have this kind of mentorship, right? You see what the person around you is doing. Talk to the person. The person will definitely open up to show you the realities and where to go now.
You see, I beg to differ when you say things will not fetch. I had the same person I made a reference to on the Microsoft suite of jobs. When we were in tech, he was always babbling about Microsoft this, and in Word you can do this, in Excel you can do this. Today, corporate institutions are paying him $1,500 per participant to teach them Excel. Because efficiency has now become the thing. We don't want the old way where you write an Excel formula and it's so long. There are so many functions that have been created in Excel now. He sits there and that's all he studies. And when he calls on a bid to go and teach just Excel, they run him for 15 days and a minimum of about 20 participants. Do the math. And bear in mind, he is not providing the location for training. The company is providing it. He's just providing what he's learned. And this is someone that has specialized only in Excel. And Excel becomes a very big tool for him. And like Brother Joe said, immediately he enters there, his networking pool is right there. He teaches them, he knows that 2 days, 3 days, they will not master. But they will call on him when they have to do algorithms that involve Excel and everything. So don't think you are learning this thing because, oh, this thing is not going to. It will surprise you that in the future, maybe in the institution that you work at, it is that formula or that little thing that you know, that the whole office will call on you that, you know what, you are the one who knows how to do this. Sit down and do it and show it to us. And all of a sudden, you become the point of reference. And that is how it begins. Imagine your owner telling you that, why do we need someone to come and train us about this? Sylvester can do it. Let's go on. And then you graduate from there. So everything you do, no matter your audience, do it to perfection. Okay? Everything that you do, no matter if your audience is even 3 people, make sure. That's why when you went here in the beginning, we began. Because we knew exactly that if we even had one person here, we'll start. Because you know that we have to make sure that everything that we represent at the end of the day is to perfection. So no matter your audience, make sure that you don't just stretch yourself and look like, Charlie, these people, they are not a lot, so I'll give them. That may be the point of reference for you that day. Someone may be talking to another person in conversation and say that, you know what, I need ABCD. Oh, I met someone here. I think he can do it. And that can be your door opening.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I was just going to say, I think based on some of the things she's spoken about campus, imagine you know how to use any of the data analysis software, SPSS, Stata, right? In this university, the amount of money graduate students pay, like just for people to do data analysis, it's incredible. You can literally be a millionaire by just if you learn the skill of just how to analyze data using any of these. And this is something you can self-learn, right? It's an additional skill with your internet connection. You can actually just self-learn, or there are people around who can actually teach you the basics, that you can make extra cash, especially when it's time for dissertation work. They are all over the place. All you need to do is, Charlie, do some small advert. And trust me, there's a lot of money you can make, right?
Thank you very much.
I want to add to the submissions. So in terms of skills and whether they pay or not, I think one key factor that is very important is branding. And I'll give you an example. There's a watch seller here at Night Market. Maybe she earns 1,000 cedis a month. There is also Antimony, who is probably earning 10,000 cedis a month. The difference is that Antimony has branded her skill. And because of that, she's earning more than someone who is probably selling here at Night Market. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the contributions. The next question, the person actually limited it to only Ghana here, but I will make it, is it the degree that is necessary or the skill? Having the certificate or having the skill, which of them is necessary for the job market?
You need a degree. You need a degree. You see, when you come to university, it's not only the degree. It builds your confidence. You get to know people. There are certain things you cannot do if you don't have degree. There are certain things you cannot do if you don't have certain grades. There are certain schools you cannot go if you don't have certain grades. So the skill is important, but as a young undergrad, you need degree. That's the basic. You see, when we were young, it was the A-level, O-level. Now is the degree. It's the basic, as Uncle George said, but you need a profession. Don't be lazy. You see, those talking about the profession takes a long while. It's very difficult. You have to sit, but you cannot go poor. Your friend, I think you give her good advice. Yes. If you're a professional and you're being laid off, you know what? You should even thank your stars. Today, I wish I'm not working for somebody. I have my own business, but I won't tell you. But even if I don't have that business, because I have a profession, right, I can go and set up my own business. Right? The short courses, they are add-on. They are add-on, but you need the degree. Because the degree will prepare you with the lengths, with the confidence, and other advanced studies or that sort.
Okay, and I'm sure we know the population of Ghana. In this part of our world, you need a degree. Elsewhere, somebody may say you may not need a degree, but rather you need a certificate. For example, US, if you're not a professional, you may still get something to do. But here, somebody may have 3 masters, even a professional. So the degree in a part of our world is very important.
Okay, now we move to the CV writing. Due to the time, I think I will allocate one question to each. And I will start from Mr. Dr. Kweku Cheme. Yeah, Professor, sorry. Sorry for... Okay, Prof, someone wants to know, do we have a specific arrangement for CV writing? And are there some particular characters or information that employers look for in CV?
Okay, so basically what I know is that there are general formats for writing the CV. But before you actually submit your CV to anybody, you must check the reference. You must find out who has submitted a CV to this place before and how they did it. Okay, so because here at the University of Ghana, there is a format, okay, for us writing our CVs. There's an official format. So if you wanted to submit your CV to a lecturer, then you'll be better off if you were in that format. So when he sees it, immediately he becomes acquainted because he's used to it. So I would think that all the salient points that Captain Jima was talking about, they are the highlights. But the advice I will give is if you wanted to submit your CV to any place, just like if you wanted to write your thesis or whatever, you check the references. It's better to know where it is that you are submitting and what format is most probably going to sell for you. Okay? If you find this out, and for most of the time you can check. So if you are applying to an agricultural development bank for a job and you have to submit your CV, there has to be a number of people who have applied to this bank for jobs previously. What format did they actually use for their CVs? This will be something that is very important for you to know. Because in most of these competitions, you don't want to be the odd one out. And people are comfortable with things that they are familiar with. So there is 1,000 CVs to be looked at. All of them have different formats. But if I saw a format that was the University of Ghana one, I might look at that one first. Thank you.
Okay, this question goes to Mr. Jima. You made mention of writing your GPA when you are writing or preparing your CV. Someone wants to know, when it comes to academics, it's okay you state it. Maybe it may be a point to be considered to further your studies. But what if when it comes to preparing professional CV?
So you remember I mentioned that with every situation, there are components of your CV that must change. So obviously, if you are applying for fields in academia, knowing your GPA is a plus. That's if it's good. You get me? But in most cases, you have to try as much as possible to keep your CV dynamic. That's what saves you. You don't, like I said, you don't have one universal CV that's going to save you. And often than not, like I said, you can put your GPA there. It gives you a notch, but then it puts you also in the spotlight sometimes with the professionals. Because immediately you walk in, I'm expecting first-class level presentations. So you have to look at your audience. If it's for academic purposes, yes, it will require that they want to know. It's not now that they come to ask you. But however, in the professional setting, in certain cases, it's okay to leave it out. Okay? It's okay to leave it out. But if you know that you can hit your chest and it's, 3.6, and you want them to know that, yes, Nami Bidel Chairmanu. Yeah, you can put that there. No, you see, you have to own it. It's your pride. It's something that you've achieved. But if you know it is looking left and right and you have other skills, soft skills that can help you, bear in mind, like I said, there's hard skills and there's soft skills. The hard skills are the academias and the certificates, and the soft skills are the other things that you can rally on. So it depends on the audience.
The next question was directed to you, but you've answered that. Someone wanted you to elaborate on the soft skills.
Soft skills. So your soft skills, for instance, can be your speech. Let me use Mr. Sylvester as an example. He's bilingual. So some of his skills are that he can speak other languages very, very well. So French, he can confuse you. I have another colleague that is very, very good in Mandarin. That's a form of Chinese. So these are some of the skills that I can bring to bear. So when I'm applying for a job and it looks like it's a francophone-oriented business, these are some of the soft skills I can bring to bear. Or I look for a data analyst company and I go like, you know what, there are some skills that will be needed for this person who has to do data analysis on raw data. Immediately I look at it like Doc said, SPSS, FlexCube, any of these other integrator, I am good at it. So I'm putting those skills up ahead. The reason why they are soft skills is that you haven't been given a certification to it, but you have the skill. And in most cases than not, in cases like, let's say, data analytics, you enter an interview room and then there's a PC waiting for you with a bunch of data. So please, if you don't know, don't go and say it. Because we've seen it before. You come, they'll give you the PC, and the PC is projected to a big screen, and they're all like, oh yeah. Now you see the person typing, enter, your system is not the same one I use at home. You don't want that. So those are some of the things you have to look at.
Now, in addition to that,
Hey, babe.
how tech or technology is taking a toll on us, as in how it's taking over. Is it advisable, irrespective of the field you find yourself, to be highly inclined in IT?
Oh, yes. You see, you use social media wrongly. YouTube. There is nothing you cannot learn in YouTube. I used to learn from the Bionic Turtle when I wanted to do data analytics. There's a guy there that takes the time, that takes me through every single column. And this is about 36 hours of data. It's sitting there. Every session is like 15 minutes. By the time you go from 1 minute to the end of the 36 hours, trust me, you have it at your fingertips. Or even you have enough to confuse those who don't know to get the employment, if you know what I mean. Because they will say something, they go like, but they don't know. But that is, you see, you have, Prof was saying this, you have so much data at your fingertips. It is rather TikTok that you are wasting your time on. They are just, you have so much information. And it will shock you that it is just one line in an interview that you say that becomes the game changer for you. So look at YouTube. Go there. I challenge you today. Every day, take just one session. Type in legal etiquette in Ghana and watch someone tell you something. I laugh about this all the time with my colleagues. Whenever I'm stopped by the police, I go like, are you aware of LI 2108? And the policeman just goes, Master, come on, go away. Because I know very well what that LI says. And it says that only an inspector can take my license from me. I picked that from YouTube.
I'll give it back. What he just said, I remember on was it 26th? No, 22nd of December, I had a meeting with the regional police commander, Greater Accra. So I was on my way. Opposite Cocoa Board, that's where the office is. When I got there, one policeman stopped me. I was looking at him, he said, you don't have your insurance. You don't have your roadworthy. You have your Wesley Girls. You have your St. Augustine's. You have your Ghana Bar. You have your doctor. You. The law says, I said, ask the which law? He said, the Constitution of Ghana says. I said, the Constitution where? So, I mean, if you don't need to be a lawyer to know certain basic things to help you.
My brothers and sisters, the YouTube, don't go and watch the, what's the trending one? Who never ever have hands in the air. Don't go and waste your time there. Watch the YouTube videos. I can't use the word because you know where I'm sitting. But please, the YouTube videos are there. Those who want to do medicine, those who want to do data analytics, anything you want to do, you have the world is at your fingertips. And the data that you waste on these TikTok videos, Snapchats, they don't go there. But the videos that you watch and you waste your time on, dedicate just one day to watching a video that will enlighten you about something that is not in your field. And bear in mind, sometimes we can meet other people. The conversational ball can be dropped because you are semi-literate, because you don't know what they are talking about. Sometimes, even when lecturers are here and they are talking, and you can feed into the conversation, like Mr. George said, we like those who can approach us with conversation, and then we can have a discourse. The next time I come to church, I'll be looking out for you. Where is that young lady, where is that young man that I had that nice discussion with? It doesn't mean have it all in your head, but be able to hold a professional conversation. And the best way to do that is by going to your YouTube and learning something new every day. It can be during your leisure time in bed. Just watch and enlighten your understanding beyond your scope.
So just one more example. So, and maybe this is also a soft skill. So there are two things that I said I wanted to do: be able to sew my own clothing and then fix my car. So I started with fixing the car. And you know, the cars that we have today, they are very smart. All you need is a diagnostic thing. And you know how much the guys charge? $150 for just doing like 5 minutes job. So if you are a student, for example, and then you can have that device, trust me, there's a lot of money you can make. You don't need to, you are not dirtying your hand, no. All you are doing is, the car is vibrating. What is the problem? And it'll tell you. It's just like going to search Google. So what I did was like, I got my diagnostic machine, and then when I have trouble, I diagnose the car, and sometimes I go and buy the thing and fix it. I save a lot of money because my mechanic, when he does he won't take less than 200 cedis. He won't take less than 200. That's a skill that I at least like right now. You can't mess with me when it comes to cars. Don't try. I'll catch you. And half of it came from YouTube. Because the codes are there. I will just go and find, okay, what is this Ford code? So there's a lot of information, there's skill that we can learn. Hopefully, when I'm done with that, I'm moving on to sewing my own clothes. And hopefully, I'll go back to YouTube to think about the designs.
Okay, Mr. Sly, this question is to you, and it comes in two folds. In case you forget the last one, let me remind you. A question for you, but it comes in two folds. It states that most students do other jobs or they partake in other activities that do not go with certification when it comes to writing of the CV. With that situation, what do they do about it? Or what should they do about it?
Okay, so there's one thing stating it and proving with a certificate, and there's another thing demonstrating it. I, for example, I have not been to any job which I had where they asked me for my degree, where they asked to say, let me see your first degree or let me see your master's degree. Why? Because at the interview, I was able to demonstrate that I know what I am about. Okay? It is only when at the interview you are fumbling and they doubt, well, did you really attend Legon? Please send us your degree. That is where it comes to play. So, in effect, there's even an example of the IT skills. You know, 2 years ago, there was COVID and there was lockdown, and most organizations were moving their meetings to Zoom and online platforms. And others were even, taking advantage of IT tools like calendar and stuff like that. Okay? Now, it's something that you may not learn in the classroom, okay? But you can learn it online and include that in your CV or portfolio, and you should be able to demonstrate that, yes, you're able to use online meeting tools and online meeting scheduling tools. So without the certificate, even there are some people whose certificates get bent and they have to apply for a new one, and whilst waiting, they apply for jobs and they're able to get it because they're able to demonstrate that they are capable.
I think your answer is for both questions. The next question was certificates such as peer counseling, Career 360, Leadership Academy, committee membership. Do those certificates matter when it comes to?
Yes, they do. They actually matter. And the reason is that, we all attend university and move out, okay? But companies want people who have been able to volunteer and do more. And this is the reason. In the firm I worked with some years back, at the end of the year, we have end of year party. Now, there are two things. Either we hire a professional MC or comedian to come and entertain us or be the moderator for the party, or they look through and say, oh, that's how school now you're entertainment prefect. Now, Bonyom, come and MC for us. Okay, so companies or HR managers look out for those skill traits beyond the degree you have acquired. So it's always good to show that whilst you were in school, you volunteered at the church, you volunteered at your department, you were part of a team that went to a village to teach kids or prepare them for BC, and they were successful. When they see that, they see that you stand out, and they'll be more than willing to employ you.
Okay, thank you very much for the contributions so far. We are yet to tap on the entrepreneurship. And this question goes straight to Mr. Derek. A student wants to know, as a student being sponsored by my parents, how do I start? My parents.
How do you start?
Your own business as in being an entrepreneur.
Okay. When I was talking, I said you should look for problems. You understand? I said you should look for problems. Wherever you go, You don't need money. When you go to the books, they will tell you you need equity, you need loan, you need land, you need. But if you are creative and you look for problems, you look for solution to those problems. Businesses don't necessarily have to be physical, like, oh, this is my office, or this is my container, or this is my rented wherever. But it can be virtual. Your job is to link the end user and the producer, right? You can do that with your small money. For Trotro, you go and see, as I said, you go and see the event planner. You just need Trotro money. When you go, you should be able to negotiate well, communication skill. You should be able to present yourself well. When you come to Legon, you should know how to interact with your people. You should be friendly. When we were in school, we had one guy, Shakes. If Kwacho Frimpong, he will greet everybody. Everybody knows Kwacho Frimpong. And everyone loves him. You understand? You have to be social. You don't need money. You use your links. You should be able to identify problems and solve it.
When I was in school, I used to do photocopies. Because, I mean, that's when not at the undergraduate level, at the law faculty level. Because I realized most of our books were very old books and very difficult to get them. I never stood in front of my mate to advertise because they would say you are making photocopies. But before school resumes, I would have photocopied the essential books because I knew all the courses we were going to do. And I would have done the hardcover. I'm sure you know hardcover. Then would have written your names on it. So there were some few people, those who were my mates, who were grown-ups, who were supposed to be students, but who didn't have, I'm sure you know those people. So a week before we reopen, I'll go to their homes, give the books to them, that you keep it. When school resumes, then you pay. I had to borrow something. At that time, the photocopy machine was about 250 Ghana cedis. I had to borrow about 150 Ghana cedis from a friend. You don't need much. It depends on you identifying what the issue is. And the kind of money that I made for my 4 years in school, God knows.
Okay, so I'll add one more business idea a colleague took advantage of and started a business without money. So here at the university, at the end of the semester, if you are going to Kumasi, there is a bus that comes to Central Cafeteria, and then you all join the bus instead of going to Circle. Okay, so this bus business was booming, and a lot of people were joining. So people would also go to Circle and speak to the guys to bring their bus so that they can convey students. Now, I had a colleague from the business school. This is what he did. I think in 2012, by that time, they had introduced domestic flights, and it's not as expensive as now. So that time, the bus was charging 50 cedis, okay? But the domestic flights were charging 90. 90 for students. So when you go and you have your student's ID, you have a discount. So all that AJ had to do was go to these airline agents and speak to them to say, I have students here that you can pick, okay? And then they pay 90 cedis. So AJ will book all your tickets in advance for you, okay? And then when you confirm with your payments, the agency would even come to campus with their minivan, cut all of you to the airport. You take your flight. When you get to Kumasi, you find your way home. And that was a very good way of him making money to a point that he even did his service here at the university and continued the business. But I think because of marriage, he stopped and went back.
Thank you very much. And I think this answers the other two questions. Someone wanted to know any ideas behind successful setups. And the next question was, most of us have business ideas in mind, but due to inadequate finance, they are not able to start the process. So how do they go about it? And I think the contributions you made all have answered those questions. So I will now open the floor if we have questions. Please, if you have any question. Okay, they said they don't have any questions. I think they've asked all the...
I know time is fast spent. Let me add one last thing. In everything you plan, you remember Mr. George said death is no respect of person. It's risk management. In everything you plan, in every business idea that you may have, you think about the glamour, don't you? It's going through, you making all the money. But no one thought about COVID, and it has destroyed a lot of companies because they did not have a good risk management policy in place. Personally, I think, like he mentioned, you should always have a contingency plan. Whenever you are planning your business idea, anything can go wrong. And if it does, do you sustain business or do you fail? So I think on a later date, we'll expand more on risk management and financial modeling, and then we can go further on into that. So thank you.
Thank you very much, panel.
Can I add? Yeah, I'm not an expert in this field, but what I know and what I learned from my father was, if it has to involve money, then whatever capital that you are starting with, you have to be worth twice that. He always used to say that, so that if anything happens, you are worth it. Otherwise, you will find yourself probably behind bars.
Thank you very much, my panelists, and we are really grateful for. My job is done, so.
So we call on Miss Crystalline to give the vote of thanks.
Thanks. Thumbs up. I'm honored to be called to render the vote of thanks for this insightful session. Our first thanks goes to the Almighty God for making it possible for us to gather here once again to learn something that will be beneficial to us. The next thanks goes to the executive body of Pax Eugene and the Society of Knights and Ladies of St. John International for being so thoughtful of us and organizing such a wonderful session for us. I'd like to especially thank the speakers for taking time of their busy schedules to be with us and share some experiences with us. We are really grateful. God richly bless you. And to us all, thank you for participating, even though it's past time, but then thank you for your rapt attention and then your patience. And thank you for making this wonderful session a good one. God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you too. So we will now call upon Mr. Moses to lead us in the closing prayer. Okay, let's give it up for him. He's coming.
Please, let's be on our feet. We are praying in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our help is in the name of the Lord. Almighty God, we thank you for a successful meeting like this. We thank you for the life of our speakers. Father, we pray that may every business that their speakers are doing, may you, God Almighty, let there be increasement. Father, we commit their business to us, O God, that be with them, be with their family. Let your protection continue to be on them. So as we pray for ourselves, that may you, God Almighty, give us a mind of creativity. Everything that we have learned here, so that we live according to it in our area of academics, so that everything that we do will become a successful one. In the mighty name of Jesus, we have prayed. Amen. We end our praise in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you. Please let's make sure not to litter the church. Let's carry along everything we brought to. Have a good evening, everyone.
For our leaders who came ahead of us, strategically positioned commandery here at the University of Ghana for nice and ladies and cadets and junior auxiliaries
Yes, so
from all
this
over
is just
Ghana.
a reminder to us all, reminding you about the PAX Morning Cup. Yeah, so you can join us tomorrow and on Thursday, and after Mass we'll break bread together. PAX Morning Cup. So see you
911, we
tomorrow.
can boost of the quality of our members. We have members from diverse professions.
Knights and ladies have made a tremendous impact in terms of trying to curtail this current COVID pandemic.
We were admired, we are acknowledged, and we are well positioned, and we are ready to serve.
The brotherhood is not only when you are home, but wherever you may be at the corners of the world, you will still check up on you.